This conference will now be recorded.
Everybody hear us. Okay. It is now 9 o'clock. We are going to start our special meeting. And I do not have anything with temperature. Um, it's going to start at 9 o'clock. And by law, we have to call it a special council meeting. And then we're going to move forward. So we have a quorum here. Uh, Rachel will be giving our invocation. Down, please.
Miracles happen over the last couple of years with everything going on in the world, and we've experienced that, and we know that that's by your hand. And I just humbly come before you right now, Lord, for this council meeting, and I just pray, Lord, that you would impart your wisdom in this meeting, Father, that everything said here would be measured and peaceful, and Father, that your will would be done in our city. I love you and I praise you, and I thank you for all the things that you do. In Jesus' name, amen.
Here, Sam will be doing our pledges. We're going to hold our public presentations until we start into the other program, unless somebody has an objection. Does anybody have anything they want to say right now? Okay. And we're moving on now to item A, which is discussion and input regarding the City of Rome facilities and the future of Rome. And we ask that when you make your statements or whatever, you identify yourself and your address. You know what I'm saying? And what we'll do, we'll start with the written submittals, which our new city secretary, Shana Oldham, will be reading for us. And then we'll move on to phone and virtual. And then lastly, we will work with you guys in here and let you make your presentations. No decisions can be made today, but your thoughts will be heard, and the council will know what you would like to see for the future. Any questions before we start? Okay, Shane, you're on.
This is from Rhome. It says, Mayor Wilson and City Council, in my opinion, City Hall at 105 West 1st Street needs to be renovated and the employees need to move back into it. After remodeling the building City Hall is in and paying rent each month is not a good plan. You don't get any of that money back. The City of Boyd is remodeling their police department with a budget of $120,000 to move all of the employees and departments there. The cost will actually come in at $90,000. They didn't need to go out for a $10 million bond. They are being responsible with the city's money, and that says a lot about their city administrator. In my opinion, our city administrator is not qualified to do the job she is in. She has no concept of money. She spends as fast as she gets it in with no accountability. The city of Aurora didn't have accountability with their city administrator, and look what happened. Maybe we need to follow the money in our city and see if there is any wrongdoing. After 2 bond elections that failed, a council member at a council meeting chastised the residents for the way they voted because he didn't get the money he wanted. Every resident has the right to vote, and no one has to answer to Sam Eason for the way they voted and for not voting the way that he wanted. Shame on Sam Eason for throwing a hissy fit. Rome doesn't need to be in debt $17 million. Maybe the city administrator shouldn't have received a $20,000 raise that took her to 105 $105,000, then the city would have more money. You can never get a straight answer from her, even on her qualifications. Why did she only last 4 months in her last job? Then Rhome hired her, and the council has given her authority over everything. Be careful and remember the city of Aurora did that too with their city administrator. We moved to Rhome 29 years ago. Rhome was and it is a wonderful place to live. All of the residents were and still are important. Now we have minimum water bill of $80. That is insane. The seniors have been kicked out of their senior center, and businesses are talking about moving out of Rhome because of the cost of having a business here. Over the last 27 years, the dilapidated old school was talked about several times to see if it could be remodeled. All studies and reports showed it wouldn't be wise to do that with the cost, and there's no clear title. From what I understand, the council went after a $10 million bond with no plan in place on how to spend the money. I understand the fire department needs more parking, and it has been discussed to demolish the senior center so they will have more parking. There still wouldn't be enough parking if the old school was removed and the city facilities were moved there. They would also be set between Quick Trip and Taco Casa with single-family residential all around. Thank you for your time, Rhome Burns. Okay, the next one is from Lisa Wilson at 240 West 1st Street. Attention Rhome residents regarding Old City Hall. As long-term resident of Rhome, 56 years, with strong family ties, I think we have a gold mine sitting close to my house. It is the only city hall which was once a bank and had a historical plaque as well as the old bank safe. Rumor has it possibly some bank robberies. Many Old Town residents fondly remember this building and would like to see it renovated to its former splendor, but done economically and frugally. This building, if brought back to the life, could handle approximately 9 offices. It should be more than enough for at least the next 5 years and could serve as the cornerstone for Old Town Rhome's historical area, as pointed out in the expensive master plan. Rumor has it that the historical plaque is missing. Council, please locate it and attach the sign to the building. The majority of the current council group has had their time in the barrel, and in my opinion, they have not done their due diligence in maintaining the buildings or being responsible with their spending. The only thing they are concerned with is feathering their own agendas and leaving their individual legacies, no matter how it affects the citizens. Unfortunately, some of these same council individuals who have put their citizens in tremendous debt are raising garbage rates and sewer rates without batting an eye. Water rates will also soon be raised. This is hurting our citizens and also our businesses. Some of these same individuals have the audacity to run for public office again even after most of them are the reason for most financial strain and deep debt. In regards to the historical red brick building, aka Senior Center, and plans to take it down for parking, this is unimaginable and even insulting. This is one of Rhome's iconic and historical buildings. A few years back, a group of dedicated citizens remodeled the kitchen area with all new appliances and cabinets, drapes, and the restroom renovation to accommodate wheelchairs. This historical building has seen many senior luncheons prepared by citizens who are no longer with us. There's a lot of history related to this building, in my opinion, with a little elbow grease and TLC. Maybe a weekend community effort, this building could once again host senior lunches. Election time is now. The future of Rhome is in your hands, people with new ideas, and from those willing to put in the extra effort 24/7 and not just on council meeting nights, and stop the spend, spend immensely, and get our city on the road to getting out of debt and welcome growth. We need individuals with true integrity and dedication to look out for the citizens' wants and needs while keeping costs down. Rhome needs you. Lisa Ann Wilson, 240 West 1st Street.
We normally do not let, the next letter is extra long. I personally tried to get them to condense it, make it better, and vehemently no. They want whatever they say in here. So bear with Shayna if she reads a long letter, then we'll move on to other things. Thanks, Shayna.
This letter is from Louis Godfrey. I'm writing this letter to express some serious concerns I have with some things the council has allowed to happen in our city, and to which I see a serious problem. I've recently heard that council has allowed the city administrator, Miss Cynthia Northrup, have complete carte blanche. Okay, sorry. On spending. This, in my opinion, is a very serious mistake. This council or any city council should never give an employee carte blanche or free rein to spend whatever they want with taxpayer money without having some sort of checks and balances or oversight. Without oversight on city money being spent, Rome could easily have a situation like the city of Aurora is going through right now with their administrator. Please do not tell that it wouldn't happen here, because none of you really know if it could or wouldn't happen. Who has oversight over Miss Northrup? Miss Northrup, I understand, has already spent $92,000 on software and $45,000 to keep the software current each year. She also wants to spend $25,000 for someone to fill out paperwork. I respectfully ask you, are all of you out of your minds allowing this to happen? Do you realize that this adds up to $163,000 of taxpayer money she is spending or has spent? This council gives Miss Northrup carte blanche to spend whatever she wants. You hired her, and I understand without her filling out an application and doing a proper background check, you pay her. I also understand about $105,000 a year, and she has completed and total power over City Hall employees and taxpayer money. But you decided that it's prudent to take all of the mayor's powers away. That makes no sense to me at all, and I wonder what the Wise County District Attorney thinks about this entire irresponsible decision to give Miss Northrup carte blanche to spend whatever she wants by our city council. Where is all of this money is coming from that Miss Northrup is spending and has carte blanche over? Employees have an appeal process in place that you, the council, have put Miss Northrup in charge of. Please tell me what sense that makes. Everyone has to go through the city administrator to file an appeal on whatever matter is at hand that she may have put in play herself, and she is in charge of the appeals process and HR. That's like making the fox in charge of your hen house. You should have neutral party in charge of the appeals process and HR. This council allowed Ms. Ty on the council, who is a former police officer herself, to sit on a board committee to help decide who our next police chief would be. And she knew him personally, I understand. And that isn't a serious conflict of interest by her. By allowing this type of action or actions to happen, you are not putting the council above reproach. When any resident writes in for an open record request for any of Ms. Northrup's credentials to show her qualifications to actually hold her position in the city, such as copies or any degrees or other documentation to show that she is definitely qualified to be our city administrator, she refuses to give copies of those documents or degrees. And you can't get a copy of her enrollment application because no one in the city can find it, because in my opinion, it doesn't exist. Can this council tell the rest of the residents why it may not exist when every other employee in the city had to fill one out? All of this information is public record. So why doesn't she want to make these documents readily available upon open records requests? I've requested these documents from her and she refused to produce copies. So I'm wondering what she might be trying to hide from the residents of the city. I also have concern that this council is disrespecting our senior citizens. Every past council has always looked out for its senior citizens, and that's how the senior center came about. The council, in my opinion, does not. You think of the first responders in this city more than anyone else. I understand the fire department needs more parking spaces, so you decide to tear down the senior center to satisfy the fire department request. Did any of you stop to consider the feelings of the senior citizens? The Center has been there for as long as I have lived in this city, and that is 29 years. Every surrounding city has a center where seniors can go except for Rome. Our seniors are tax-paying residents that deserve our help and respect. The fire department has plenty of parking spaces. They're not at the fire department all the time. Our seniors are also residents that vote. If the police department wants a nicer building, you decide to put our city in more unnecessary debt by trying to get a $10 million bond to satisfy their request. And when the majority of the residents voted the bonds down because we do not want any more debt, Sam Eason badmouthed the residents at a council meeting because he didn't get his way to spend more money and add to our colossal debt. The residents need to remember what he said about them when it comes time to vote this May. This council has to understand the majority of the residents have spoken not once but twice that we do not want any more bonds to add to our city debt, so please stop with the bonds already. Bashing the residents by a council member at a council meeting is absolutely the most unprofessional thing any member of the council could do, in my opinion. This council should also remember that all of you work for the residents first and foremost. They elected you and they can remove you. We have voted down the bonds, and I'm sure we will continue to vote them down. We do not need a $10 million city hall or police station to satisfy some council member's personal agenda. Get over it and move on. I believe we need to move back to the original city hall on West 1st Street. The council has already sunk $140,000 into cleaning mold when all that was needed was $30,000 to seal the mold. You also spent more taxpayers' money building office space at the fire department while the mold was being removed. Instead of putting the money back into the original city hall for renovations, you decided to put $50,000 plus into the present city hall and pay $2,100 to $2,300 a month to rent from the private owner. The rent adds up to more than $26,000 a year in taxpayer money, and the city would never get back. Who in their right mind renovates someone else's property to the tune of $50,000 plus and then pays them monthly rent? When the city owns their building, and that we just put $140,000 into, and could have been used again as our city hall, the council should have put $50,000 plus back into the building we own and not into someone else's pocket. This council seems very good at wasting taxpayer money. A prime example of this is $90,000 you spent on a new roof for the dilapidated old school. The only thing that the school needs is a bulldozer. The largest health hazard in this city is loaded with black mold and asbestos. The West 1st Street City Hall will not cost what Mr. Densmore says it will cost, and his numbers are seriously inflated. He is also not an engineer nor a contractor. The process to get the City Hall operational again is a very simple one. You make a list to what the council wants to repair, brought up to code, expanded, or rearranged. Give this information to an engineer to draw up plans. Then you open the project up for bids from several professional civilian contractors. The lowest bid gets the job, and I would not use an expensive engineering firm like Kimley Horn, in my opinion. They are a good company. However, they are too expensive. Find more reasonable firm who won't cost the taxpayers a fortune. At this point, I really can't see a future for the city as far as new business is concerned. The council has raised city fees so high and so frequently that new businesses are being scared off. And some of the present business owners are talking about leaving Rome. This doesn't look good for this council, and it hurts the city. It's cheaper right now to build in Dallas than it is to build in Rome. Think about that for a minute. This council and its city policies need to change. In my opinion, this council is the most business and financially irresponsible council the city has ever seen. If you do not think so, then look at all the wasted money spent, your policies, the way that you're driving businesses out of our city, and your city administrator has a lot to do with it, in my opinion. In closing, I believe this council needs to work on projects off of the master list and do them one at a time, start to finish. These projects must be financially achievable without putting the city into further unnecessary debt. We should not automatically look into bonds as the answer to finance our projects or any future projects. I think if the council stops giving outrageous salaries to employees and 20% raises and stop wasting money on $92,000 software, we would have the ready cash to plan these projects that are needed for the betterment of the city and its residents. In my opinion, this council needs to get more financially responsible and work better with our residents and local businesses, or a lot of the present business owners will find another city to do business with, and you will not attract any new businesses with these fees and policies you have in place right now. Our city problems, in my opinion, are the result of the city administrator and the council member trying to run the whole city by themselves. We are a type A general law city, not a dictatorship, and everyone in the council and mayor should have their own input on how the city should be governed, and not just two individuals who expect everyone to fall in line. Everyone on the council should think for themselves and input their own decisions on agenda items and not just go with one controlling member wants. Thank you for your time. Respectfully, Louis Godfrey.
Shana, thank you, because that was an effort. We appreciate it. My fault if that letter was that long. I tried to get it cut back. The individual did not want to, but out of respect to that one individual, he was a previous mayor of the city of Rome and had a lot of inside knowledge. So now we're going through, we've done the letters. Shanna had 3. Do we have anybody on the phone that wants to speak, Cynthia?
No, you were gonna ask because they didn't remember that you didn't want them sending it in.
Right.
They
So do we have people on the phone?
Well, it looks like there are 8 people. So if there's somebody on the phone that wants to speak, please identify yourself and state your name and your address.
Hey, going once, going twice, maybe come back at the end if you have anything you want to input in here. Now we're going to virtual. Do we have anybody on virtual that wants to speak?
Do you want to ask? We have Steve Knight. Would you like to speak? You want to? It's muted. Or you mute.
If somebody's wanting to speak, if you would speak up now. Otherwise, we're gonna, guest mayor, you're gonna move on to the people that are here.
Hey, last call, anybody? Okay, and if you happen to come in late and you have something to speak on, let us know. And we are now going to move to the people that are all sitting here. And for y'all, I really appreciate you all showing up today. At 9 o'clock is early. 9 o'clock at 20 plus degrees is even earlier. So, that's somebody wanting in, or if he changed his mind, he looked at y'all and said, I'm not coming in there, So, okay, we will start, I guess, at the back and come around. And we're going to start with Kathy, around and around.
People have turned in their sheets.
Right.
If they want to talk. Do you want her to start with the sheets that people have turned in?
Yeah, well, we're going to start on that corner and around. Is anybody that wants to speak not turned in a form? Okay, Shana, you can call one by one, and I ask that you give your name and your address when you come to the podium to speak. So, Shane, and if after this is over, if there's anybody else that wants to speak, you'll certainly get an opportunity.
First, we have Randall Loftus.
Randall Loftus, 315 West Morris Street, Rome, Texas. I have a personal story I'd like to share with you today that I think is relevant to something that's going on in Rome today. And 25 years ago, I moved my family to Bellingham, Washington, and they had a strong recycling program. And so last night, my wife and I, we were lamenting how we're going to have to change our behavior to stop recycling. But that's a domestic issue I know we're not going to solve today. But when we lived in Bellingham, our backyard had these wonderful trees. They were fir trees, 100 feet high, and had a strong windstorm, and it split one of the trees. And so I had an arborist out, and the arborist said, well, we'll take a bolt and put it through the tree so it'll keep it from splitting. Had another arborist out, and he said, well, yeah, we'll do the bolt, but we're going to put a cable up there too, keep it from splitting. And then the third arborist came out, and he looked at me and he said, why are you so in love with this tree? It's a liability to you. If this tree splits and falls, it's going to take out that power line. It's going to cross that public street. It's going to cost you and your insurance company $30,000 or $40,000. So I hired him to take down the tree. And that was an amazing feat to watch. But the point is that I had an emotional attachment to those trees. They were beautiful. And they were, just a tree, a beautiful tree. And I know there's people with emotional attachments to buildings in this city. But I believe probably they are a liability to the city. And so the solution I would offer is that the city would somehow use tax incremental financing, possibly blight this new area where the QT is coming in, blight this area where all these buildings are. You might also consider an area on the north side, on the east side of Main Street. And then I would recommend that we use that tax incremental financing to build a new fire and police facility east of Main Street. And then through a public-private partnership, develop this area into a multi-use, multi-purpose facility. I believe that multi-purpose facility should be privately owned. And the reason why is because properties that the city of Rome owns do not generate property tax. That's, some people don't like the idea of the city renting, but the fact is you're renting that property that is developing property tax, producing property taxes. So a multi-purpose facility in this area could have meeting spaces, not only for the city of Rome, but I believe we have some brothers just west of us that need assistance also with meeting facilities. And also possibly athletic facilities in a multi-purpose facility. So that's my idea. And thank you for listening to me today. And this is the other speech I had. It sounds like the others.
Thank you, Mr. Loftus.
Next, we have Tim Robeson.
Good morning. Tim Robinson. Lived out at Rome, Texas here for 23 years at Bywell Estates. Yeah, we're still in the city limits, people. Life lessons has taught me over the years, and it's going on daily, that I have a niece that's going to school right now, Texas A&M. She's going to be a vet. They're going through vet school, and they do a process called look, listen, and learn. She tells me during the Christmas holidays the other day that, Tim, we were in class the other day and they was working on an injured cat. I'm sorry, but this is part of their learning. She says, we look the situation over. Our instructor is there with us, and we're listening to the instructor, and we learn from it. So they in turn turn about and they watch one actual procedure going on. They assist with one, and then they do one. Simple steps. People, simple steps. Daily, every day in the city of Rome. Tax dollars come into this town. Sales tax, right? We get it annually. We may get it monthly, may get it quarterly, right? Let's open up a piggy bank. It comes in daily, sales tax. You, the council, here in the city of Rome, the council, think of this. I work for Tarrant County. We do interlocal agreements. You know how those interlocal agreements are paid for? Off the sales tax revenue. The councils have sat down and they've said, well, we get, this is rough figures, people, $1,000, okay? They sat down and they used wisdom and they said, we're going to take this $1,000 that we get. We're going to ask the voters if we can get permission for them to take 25% of this $1,000 and put it in the piggy bank. And at the end of the year, we're going to have money set aside we can use on bridges. We can use it on our streets. We can use it on our utilities, like our water lines, our sewer lines and everything. And you've got a never-ending business going because your piggy bank gets money in it each month. Think of that, people. That's one way to cure the problem, our street problems. Commit yourself to a long-term plan, not, well, we're going to draw this up on a sheet of paper and ask the voters, we need $5 million to do this. $5 million later, you can still have an income coming in. Put the commitment out there. Let the people show you that you're committed. That's what you want for the movement of Rome. Accountability. Boy, it's a big one here. Anybody in this room stand up today, anybody, and tell me we're going to turn the light switch on at 12 o'clock tomorrow night. We're going to turn it off in 24 hours. What does it cost as a whole in the big Joe, in the big bowl of the big salad, everything? What does it cost to run the city of Rome? Think of that question, people. If you don't understand that question, you don't know where you're going to start tomorrow. Do you need $5 to make it run, or do you need $50 to make it run? What do you need? You need to start listening to that one line of thought. Put some accountability in this city. What does it cost to keep it operational daily? Think about it. Salaries, everything. You'd move ahead further. Put logistics together. Think. Get your department heads together. Say, quote, it takes me this for my salary. It takes me this. Hey, I had to pay for this. Put the whole thing in a nutshell. Then you can work your problems around. It's kind of haphazard. You go to the piggy bank every time you want to get money out of it at the end of the year. Yeah, everybody got satisfied, but somebody may have got more than others. That's not the way I don't think you should run business. If you're going to run a business, if you've got $5 to make and you need to pay a $2.50 bill, pay it. You got $2.50 left over. Somebody needs to be accountable where all this money is going. It slides out the door too fast, in my opinion. Ownership. Y'all did it here a while back. Everybody owns a piece of property or lives on a piece of property here in the city of Rome, right? Or however. Back when I was on council, I've sat behind the lines there. I sat out here. My family member, my wife, sat up behind the lines too. Believe me, my hat's off to each one of y'all. It's a tough job sometimes. But think of this. I know what I pay for, quote unquote. Y'all gave me the responsibility of taking care of property that belongs to y'all here a while back when you said we're not going to take care of easements, right of ways, and other alleys and such. That's fine. Don't come treading on my property when you want to come talk to me because you don't have the authority right now. You had the authority, but you gave it up. Think about it, people. last but not least, somebody takes the ownership. Who owns the city of Rome? The taxpayers, right? Everybody understands that. The taxpayers, the people of Rome that pays the taxes. Well, your code of conduct that y'all just went through and pushed it on through, nobody owns it now. You people are wasting your time. My opinion, setting up here in these council meetings, you got one person that's in control of everything. It's disheartening to a bunch of people. I'm sorry. Hey, I can work with anybody. I can look, learn, and listen. Y'all take a little grain of salt and listen to some of the people today. I appreciate it. I appreciate y'all's time, and I appreciate each one of y'all every time y'all get through thinking about these meetings. I hope you learn something. People are concerned. I'm concerned, and I thank y'all for y'all's time today.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. And Shana, who do we have now?
Shirley Mize.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. A place to call home is a comparatively low cost of living, great access to nature and recreation, relative ease of getting around, quality health care systems, and strong sense of community. And knowing that older adults and younger generations want similar things in the places they live and look to find what the good life could be in America today. I've handed out a national magazine that had a write-up for the city of Fort Worth, Texas. And it was titled Small Town Feel. I asked you to read this because it gives you some sense of direction. But keep in mind, Rome is a spot in the road compared to Fort Worth. It takes many years, decades, with solid tax base to complete planned projects with limited budgets. For example, look at how long it took to get a solid tax base to build a city like Keller, Watauga, Haltom City, North Richland Hills, Roanoke, for example, but it was doable. In Rome's future, your out-of-control spending needs to cease. This mayor and council needs to get a true, balanced budget in place that this town can live with and make do with. Like the $209,000 spent on the quorum, consulting and design. Since 2019, Rome government has spent more than $1 million on legal and engineering fees. That's amazing. What could we have done with that money? Stop letting outsiders come to Rome and recommend how to spend our hard-earned money to line their own pockets. Your audio system for the city council meeting is a piece of crap. And how much did you spend for that? $10,000. You can't even hear yourself when you're online. Half of it's there and half of it's not. We need this system to work. If you're spending that kind of money, it better be singing to us. God give us a gift, a brain. Use it. We all need to. Direction, setting priorities. My vote is to rebuild the old city hall. My vote is to bring the senior citizen building back to its condition. If you don't know how to do it, you shouldn't be here. If you can't plan, we don't need you here. Wastewater bills. We've got a real problem that we're going to run our businesses off by what you've done to them. We can't afford the $5.28 million that you put on top of them. And they know that, and you know that. You're trying to build revenue to show the bank, oh, we can pay it back. But our citizens are telling you, and they'd already told you before, that the bond can't help you because we can't afford it. Now we got another bond that we're going to deal with. The wastewater increase should have been spread out, in my thinking, because it takes time for us to build and get what we need. We can't build it tomorrow. Everybody wants, oh, let's put these bonds in place and it's going to come up as far as be present the next day. In financing, I feel that we have a list of appraisals of property that I've given you in the handout to show you that these are the properties that Rome says they own. But the ones that have a deed, we can look at, except for the ones that the city citizens deem to keep and use as city facilities. Look at the values and possibly sell them, because you need revenue. You need a place to go when we have a project to get done. So I'm thinking that we would do basically a property cleanup. And from there, I know you've got plans in your parks, recreation, but some of these little facilities or pieces of property are not going to ever happen. You can plan all day, but if people don't want them, it's just not going to happen. And I feel like we could use that as resources. I also gave you a copy of the 2021 sales tax that you've accumulated for the year. It gives you a number to kind of see how much money we could possibly look at to earmark a portion of that sales tax on a yearly basis to plan projects. That would help ease the financial burden here of how we're going to get the money to make this happen. A lot of the things that I look at in what y'all do is y'all elevate what it's going to cost to build these projects or fix these buildings. That's crazy. Y'all are scaring the citizens to the point of there's no way we can do that, and y'all know that, because you know that if they're scared, they won't make a move on it, but then we can go back for another bond. But we don't want that bond. If we need to build something, we need to have the initiative to figure out how to build it without putting somebody in farther debt. What happened to the average monthly billing for our water? Did we just die on it? We don't have a list that we continuously drive on that we need to fulfill, that the citizens bring to the table and give you every time you have a meeting. We just let it die. We don't do anything. And that's not right. That's disrespectful. And that's not right. Today I was going to grade the council, and I give them a D. And the reason I give them a D, because you're not doing your job. If you were elected to come here to do the best you could do for the citizens of Rome, you haven't done it. And that's not right. You have an obligation to fulfill, just like I would have an obligation to make sure that I move on a daily basis to the best of my ability. And we haven't done that here. Citizenship, I gave you a U. Unsatisfactory. Recommendation, need drastic improvements. Can y'all do that? Can you make drastic improvements for the citizens? I think we need it. This council has had 5 years or more to fix the issues concerning our city and have chosen to go their own adventure and put debt on the citizens no matter at what cost or devastation it has caused. It's time to change. Citizens, please take a stand and make change and pick up your application to run for 2 council seats to save Rome before it's too late. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Mize.
Next, we have Jerry Lobdell.
Good morning. I'm Jerry Lobdell. I live at 709 Troxel Boulevard over in Crown Point. I'm here, first of all, on behalf of the Rome United Methodist Church. The pandemic, COVID, whatever you want to call it, has been devastating to all the churches. We're trying desperately to get more people to come to our church. And we need to have recognition. You know, we went out, we put bags on doors. I did talk at one of the senior citizens about, to Ashley mostly, about signs. I've been trying to get a sign somewhere in Rome that says, and I want it big, the Rome United Methodist Church and the address, and she did address it. Thank you very much. I see in the city council meeting minutes that, I don't know what happened with it, but anyway, it's just, things like that that help, even if we were a small business. I've been studying for a few days the planning that the Rome comprehensive plan, and I don't know if anybody's ever done anything with it, or if you've read all 99 pages of it. And there's just a lot of things in there that make it a lot of sense to me, but again, it's, the money. And what I would like to see too is when you put out in the campaign, I guess I'm going to say, about for the voting the last time on the bonds, I want to see, they said it was $4,406,000 to renovate, say, the school over here. I have never seen any architectural plans, anything that told me what it looked like, what it's going to look like, where you came up with the costs. And the same with I didn't write down what I had here, but the city hall or something for the police department. I mean, it's all itemized out here, $926,733. But where are those architectural plans? I would like to see them, and it's where it says this is going to cost this much money. This must, it's just a check and balance for the money that we're spending. I like the idea of the revenue from sales tax, part of it being put back. I know we teach our kids from an early age to start saving. And I think that's, now according to all I had was to go by was from the comprehensive plan. It said that we received around $50,000 in revenue from sales tax. How close that is or not, I don't know. The plan was done, several years ago. But, part of that could be put away. The vision statement that I don't know if that's the current one or if it was just in this comprehensive plan, but it called for keep Rome, the small town feel, but yet we need to bring in businesses. We need to bring in commercial people. Well, it's kind of a contradiction in terms to me. I mean, how are we going to do this and do that? It's a fine balance that we need to have. We like Rome. We like the way it is. But the few of us that are here, I feel, end up paying for the people that are coming in. And they're coming. I mean, they're out here, they're out there, these housing developments, they're coming and nobody's going to stop them. And so we need to capitalize on that and get that revenue in with those of us that are paying it. So we have everybody sharing everything, the joys, the small town atmosphere, and get people back to the churches to help with all of that would be a big feat, but I think it would be very nice to have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your input. We appreciate it.
Next, we have Deborah Beecraft.
Hello, I'm Deborah Beecraft. I live at 360 West 2nd. The first thing I'd like to address is our buildings. I agree with all of y'all. We need a city hall that we're not paying rent on. That's a waste of money. That money that we're paying every month in rent could be going towards other things. If we prioritize, and I'm going to put the city hall as the first need because we have a rental. So let's get our city hall back in the old city hall because that is the most reasonable, cost-effective thing to do. Y'all say it's not big enough to hold council and city hall. Make it just city hall, both sides. This place right here has been renovated. They've done floors, they've done painting, they've done all this. It may not be perfect, and you say it's not ADA, but until we touch it, it's grandfathered in. It's been working all these years. Let's keep using this. Make that city hall, leave this here till we can get around to this one. The next building would be the police department. And the reason I say that is because those guys are there 24/7. We have this as council and court. Put city hall in, then do a police department. Then you can do the fire department. Public Works was just renovated 17 through 19. New offices, everything. So some of these buildings have been worked on. Even the fire department, they got new offices on both ends from 17, 18, 19. I think Chief Fitch is the one that did it. So I know they have nice offices. So it is not a dire need. The dire need is a city hall. So let's get that done at the most reasonable, cost-effective way is to renovate that old city hall. That is the least cost. The next thing is quit wasting money on ordinances that don't do anything. And as an example, I'm going to give you 3 examples. The ordinance you did on the veterans for the property tax exemption was useless because the state already gave us that. I got nothing new. Y'all spent $2,000 and gave us nothing other than it looked good for y'all. Social media policy, another wasted $2,000 because family, your own family and friends, and even some of y'all yourself have went on there and argued and called names to citizens. So that social media policy was wasted $2,000. The code of conduct, the same night you're voting on it, we had a councilman sit there and say certain inconsiderate individuals called the citizens names. He could have just said certain individuals. Didn't have to call them names. So that was a wasted tax dollars. Y'all, and there's nothing, if y'all want to ignore it, There's nothing anyone can do except slap your hand and spank your hand and say, bad boy, bad girl. So it was wasted money. Y'all keep wasting money and then say we don't have the money to do stuff. No, we don't, because y'all don't know how to spend our money. Anything that y'all have complained on the ADA not compliant, the new City Hall, if we renovate City Hall on First Street, it will have to be ADA compliant because we've remodeled. Everything else till we touch it to remodel it is grandfathered in. Just like this right here. I know I've heard several times the front door is an ADA. Since 2009, I've seen a lot of wheelchairs come in here and a lot of walkers without an issue. So people can use it. And I am very disappointed in the council giving one person sole authority to hire and fire. If she fires an employee, they have a right to go to HR to make a complaint. Guess who HR is? The same person that fired them. That's going to help them a whole lot, isn't it? I think y'all need to start reading the packages and actually researching them and thinking about what you're doing before you vote on doing it. And quit wasting our tax dollars. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Bigcraft.
Next, we have Patricia Mitchell.
We had started that way, but we got sign-in, so that's when you want to be. Shannon can put your application very near the end.
Next, we have Kathy Coffey.
I wasn't going to say anything, but this was supposed to be a productive, constructive meeting. All I've heard is negativity. It's very apparent. Several people here don't want Cynthia here, and I think she does a great job. Shame on y'all for throwing her under the bus. Quit griping and writing editorials and come up with an actual solution. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy.
Next, we have Tommy Eason.
Hi, my name is Tommy Eason, and I live at 1107 Mount Lane. Usually I have a piece of paper, and I'm go through the whole list. But this time I wasn't going to say anything. I've heard a lot of people come up here and say, we need to do this, 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 and this. But you're not coming up with a solution how to get the money. There's no one except maybe Tim Robeson said something about taking the money out of, I don't remember what it was, sales tax revenue. Okay, you can't fix everything in 1 year. You can't turn around and wait a minute, you can't do it in bits and pieces like the last 50 years. The last 50 years here, it's been a Band-Aid to fix this, a Band-Aid to fix that. Nothing got done. As a matter of fact, when the council went to get a new roof for the old city hall, insurance wouldn't pay for it because not enough minimal maintenance was done on it. If you're going to go back to the way it was and do just bits and pieces and not do something that we could be proud of, do we really want to go back there? Do we really want to sell all our property and have nothing for the city and rent everything? That's what I heard one person say. We have to come up with solutions, not just griping about what was done in the last 5 years or what was done here or what was done there. Let's start over. Let's fix the problems and come up with solutions. I am so tired of people saying, this is wrong, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong. But I don't hear them coming.
I'm sorry. Please proceed.
Now I forgot what I was saying. I hate that. Let's start from scratch. We can work together. It doesn't have to be that side and that side. Let's all come together and build something that this city can really be proud of. I'm tired of the fighting. I'm tired of the arguing. Just because I don't agree with some people doesn't mean that I hate you. I don't. This is a city. Let's come together and do it together. Thank you.
Thanks, Tommy.
Next, we have Patricia Mitchell.
Ready to go.
I'm going to say right off the bat that, yes, can you hear me now? Okay. That original City Hall back in 2017, council borrowed $660,000. Sam Eason's the only one left out of that original council. They borrowed $660,000. $250,000 of that was allocated to redo the City Hall. What happened? They dumped the money in. They poured taxpayer dollars into a rental because somebody came up with a new estimate that said it was $450,000. That $450,000 originated, it was $100,000, and that was Eddie Aguilar from Jacob and Martin that told them that's what it would cost. Then it went up to $250,000. The next thing you know, it's up to $450,000, which was reiterated last fall on social media. However, when I did an open record on that, there was no responsive documents. And I know some of you have criticized me for the number of open records that I do, and I do post those on social media, because otherwise people would have no idea what the city is doing. And I agree with Mrs. Mice as far as the attorney fees and engineering costs. 2019, attorney fees, $137,000. 2020 was $158,000. 2021, $166,000. $15,000 alone for the month of December. We only had one meeting. Somebody's got that attorney on speed dial. Now, I know that Tommy Eason says, oh, let's all get along. We can all work together. That hasn't been the case. These two right here have been openly hostile towards the mayor and Ashley Majors, and we've witnessed it at repeated council meetings. You even fought the mayor when she was trying to get a grant. You criticized her. You went behind our backs. No, she made inquiries. Now, as far as the employees that we've got in stock, yes, I do open records. And yes, I do have your evaluations from your previous employers. To be honest with you, if I'd been in the position that I was hiring, you would not have been my first choice. I will tell you that very honestly. Now, as far as to the future of the city, I think we need to backtrack. The money from the repairing the old city hall is long gone. You guys blew through that in a hurry. So it would take a short-term loan, either certificate of obligation. I think that your estimates at $275 a square foot is far inflated as far as construction costs. $275, from what I could find, would be customary perhaps in New York City or Chicago, where your labor costs are so high. In Texas, you're looking at anywhere from $80 to $130 per square foot. Of course, I don't know much about construction other than watching from the sidelines. because my son does it. And let's see, what else do I want to cover? I think this council can't move forward on anything until you learn to control the money that you've got coming in. And yes, I will oppose every single bond that comes down the pike. You're looking at this $5,281,000 to redo the West Side sewage plant. In 2018, you borrowed $2.6 million to redo the East Side plant, and it turned out for the benefit of Prairie Point, which both developers backed out. The first one said in an email he couldn't trust them. They kept changing their story. Now, that started out, Eason was the only one on the council, well, Eason and Elaine Priest, and I brought that to your attention several times. I held your own report up, and I said, if I've seen this document, I know that you all have seen it too. And that sewage plant was not in dire need. It wasn't even at 75%. It was at 47% capacity. Josh McCabe went on social media on September 24th and basically threatened residents with big government retaliation if you don't vote for this bond. Yes, you got the bond, but you had to dupe the voters to do it. And I know they don't like the negativity. And, but sometimes even documents are perceived as, oh, well, that's just negative. And it's not. Documents, if you want to dispute a document, then you need to go back to the source that the document came from. Well, that's not true. Am I getting interrupted?
Well, I hear something. Do we have over?
And to be honest with you, Josh McCabe, I would have supported him off the bat until he did that on September 24th, 2018. October 11th, 2018, he was appointed to council, and the bond did pass. I've just seen a lot of impropriety, let me put it that way. Putting Northrup in charge of the HR program, I am looking into a situation right now where I believe that employee was wrongfully terminated. And of course it goes to Cynthia Northrup. Oh, there's no evidence. I find no evidence. But one of her witnesses that I know that she talked to, there's no documentation that she ever spoke to him. And I suspect that's because it would have been favorable towards that particular employee. And we're looking at underlying problems that are basically federal issues. Yeah, let the secret get out. Folks, I'm Rhome Watch. But I guarantee you that much of what is put out there, yes, I do have opinions, and yes, those opinions are frequently expressed. However, most everything that is put out there, you're going to have a document to back it up. Rarely do I put anything out that doesn't have a document to go with it. As far as the council we've got right now, I'm very happy with Ashley Majors. She was the only one when we had the freeze last winter. Bywell was without any water for days. The transformer from the above ground telephone poles, and I don't know how those got there because we did find the ordinance that underground utilities are required. That's in your plan development ordinance. And somehow or another that developer was allowed to put in those above ground telephone poles, but one of the transformers blew because it froze. Those people were without water. They were without power for days. Couldn't get any water out to them. I contacted J.D. Clark, and he said, yeah, we gave water to the fire department. Oh, okay. So Ashley Majors gets in her car. She talks to the mayor. She gets in her car. She goes over to the fire department, says, I'd like some water. Oh, here, you can have a couple of cases. She said, oh, no, I don't think so. Fill it up. We got people out here that haven't had water for days. It was Ashley Majors who took water out to those people. I understand that we did have a problem because we didn't have a generator. My son has a small business. It's probably $5 million, $10 million business. However, they have 3 commercial grade generators with their business. We don't have one, not one. The mayor has suggested that you put it on the budget. Oh, well, we can rent one. Well, I guarantee you last winter when we had that hard freeze, there wasn't a generator to be had. I think Ashley got in touch with one of her buds from another city and said, yeah, we'd loan you a generator, but we're using them. I think you really exercised very poor judgment in your spending. We had a $4.3 million budget this year, but you used it instead. Oh, you gave this person, 25%. You know, our girls in the office got crumbs. But this person, oh, well, we've got to pay our talent. Oh, you do. Well, I talked to Greg Arrington over in Boyd, and I know you guys don't like to be compared to Boyd. However, I said, Greg, what'd you guys get? Everybody got an across the board 3.5%. Your 25% increases, basically what you're trying to do is pay us up to what you think somebody over here is paying or somebody over here. Northrup makes now $105,000. J.D. Clark, our county judge responsible, 69,000 people. We've got a 93 square mile area. He's got I believe a $70 million budget. He makes less than she does. He makes $83,000 a year, and he's running for re-election. He's happy with his pay. All right, I wanted to be the last one, but I see you've taken additional because I suspect that I'm going to have some rocks thrown at me, which I've grown very accustomed to that, even having the council throw rocks at me. So I will continue what I'm doing, and you're not going to walk with the mayor's seat, I'll tell you right now, Josh McKay, because you have not been honest. You weren't honest from the beginning. I think that's all I've got to say. Well, I may have more. May I reserve it in case I've got more to say?
If we have time, we're going
Very
to
good.
come back.
Thank you so
additional
much.
comments.
Thank you for your courtesy, Mayor.
Right. Thank you, Miss Rhome Watch. You know. Okay, Shayna, you said this was the end, and now you've accumulated more.
Next we have Donna DeGarmo.
Be nice. My name is Donna DeGarmo. I live at 104 Kensington. I know, because I'm relatively new here, I know nothing about your budgets, where your money comes from, or anything like that. But I am just appalled sitting here and listening to each other criticize the other one. I mean, I don't even know what kind of words to say. And if I had my choice, because I don't know anybody, I think you would all be out, and somebody from unknown would be in. Somebody that can work together, obviously, because I have heard that. I mean, as much as I can say, they said, she said. Nobody seems to think that we should have a God said, because, I mean, the fact is, if people were cold, as they were in my neighborhood, they came to my house and I gave them wood. I had other friends came to my house, they got water. I mean, there's nothing wrong with working together and having a little bit of empathy and generosity. My God, I'm on Social Security, and I said the only thing I can say about that is gas prices are going up and my 401 is going down. And I'm just really glad I'm making it like I am. I'm one of the ones that cannot afford that great increase in the water bill, especially because I want to get a water softener because my water sucks. End of story on that one. But that, who cares? But anyhow, I have never seen so much animosity amongst people. I just, I don't understand. So hopefully somebody will friend me in a positive way and we can talk about some things. I do seem to think that there should be accountability for each and every one of us. I work with the church. I buy groceries for people and things like that. The people at first were going to send me money, but it's like, no, that's just not good. Everybody needs accountability to a certain extent. We need to know that we are all on the up and up. And I don't know if this meant anything, but I know I just don't know if I'll even I'm sure I'll come to another council meeting because of the fact that I would like to learn more about our city, learn more about our finances. But I just seem to think that things could be worked out through understanding, through communication, through love, through generosity. You know, I help people that who knows who they are, and hopefully I'll never have to do it again. But hopefully they were they appreciated it. I know they did. So I mean, but I just cannot at the moment say that I like any of you guys. Sorry. I mean, I hope to know you better eventually, but yeah, it's. I hope that next time you're more friendly with everybody.
Thanks, Donna. And I think, you know,
Thank you. I don't even know what to say about that one, but.
we're going to recap that with comments if any of the council wants to make comments. But I think Donna hit a lot on the head. Purpose of this meeting, hopefully, was we have 5 sections in the city of Rome, and to come together with and support one Rome rather than each and every section. But anyhow, Shayna, keep it going.
Next, we have Joe Hernandez.
Donna, welcome to the city. Holy crap. I feel like I had to wear my body armor everywhere I go in this city. So I thought the purpose of this meeting was facilities in the future. All this has been is a bashing on Cynthia, bashing on the council, and you have not stepped in to stop this. How are we going to go forward if we can't even continue what's going on right now? You're the one that set this meeting up, and you have not done what this meeting was about. Okay, we were here about facilities and moving forward, and all we've heard is Josh is not going to get mayor. Poor Cynthia, you're overpaid and not qualified. Sam, he should be crucified for calling out the citizens. What are we doing? That's why people weren't involved, is because we are sitting here throwing stones at each other instead of doing what we're here to do. We got a police department that's falling apart. We got a fire department that's falling apart. We have everybody that's against the bond, and all we're trying to do is just move forward with the city. We have council members saying, I'm for the employees, I'm for the employees. We have a police chief that has to do his own work in his building. He has varmints running around. He has water leak where the ceiling's fixing to fall in on his desk. And we're over here talking about, well, Josh, you're not going to get mayor. You might as well not even run. Cynthia, you're overpaid. I don't know what you're doing, but you're obviously putting money in your purse because the city's losing money everywhere. This is just craziness. Let's talk about what we're talking about, the facilities.
Okay, and go for it, Joe. What would you like to see us do?
Okay,
and how we get there?
We keep talking about renovating the old city hall, talking about let's make priorities and city hall as the first priority. No, that's not. We have men and women that come into buildings, and it's dangerous for them to come in the buildings before they go out on the streets where it's dangerous. That is unacceptable. It's unacceptable that a police chief has to decide if he gets new police cars or radio system. That is crazy. These guys in here at the fire station, they got to go into asbestos-filled rooms where their gear is. We got a fire chief that's doing all the work. That's not his job. His job is to protect the citizens. So yes, there has been very few solutions today, but we do need to come up. When we have a city that lives paycheck to paycheck, and we hear about wasteful spending here, wasteful spending there, there were some ideas that were brought up the other night about saving on overtime for dumpster days, about ordinances and this and that, and sending $2,000. Well, it's only $2,000. It's only $2,000. And then whenever somebody brings up to spend $2,000, well, we can't spend $2,000. So yes, we do need to come together as a city and figure out what we're going to do to go forward. But Band-Aid fixing these facilities is not the way to do. All we're doing is dumping money. We need to come up with a good plan on how we're going to move forward. We owe it to these men over here, these men and everybody that works for them, for Sean Dinsmore, for Cynthia, all of them. We owe it to them that they are walking into safe buildings. Cynthia, you're doing an outstanding job. Love you.
Pardon me. Okay. Please. I apologize for that. Joe, go ahead. Where you were when we had the outburst.
So all we're doing is criticizing our city employees, but we speak out of the other side of our mouth is we need our employees and we value them. But we're sitting here, every city council meeting, we're bashing Cynthia, we're bashing Sean. These guys come in, they're saints. Because if I was them, I would have walked a long time ago. But we do need to come together to figure out what we're going to do. And I'm going to dispel this rumor. Michelle did not know Eric before they're hired. Eric and I took a motor class about 10 or 15 years ago, and that's the extent of our relationship with Chief Davis. So, sorry to burst some people's bubbles, but Michelle and Eric are not best friends. Thank you.
Shana, do we have someone else? Okay, now, well, here is one latecomer. While you're up.
We have Candice Fitch.
I wanted to see if this was real quick. This is actually not very loud. This is probably the lowest pitched one that I could find right off the bat. I just wanted to let you know my name is Candice Fitch. I live at 155 School Road, right next to the old school. We have been living here. I've had 6 birthdays in a row. Thank you.
Keep talking into the mic.
I decided to move to Rome on a whim. We moved from Watauga, Texas, and knew that my husband wanted to retire in the next couple of years. We moved into the Shell Creek addition. We only were renting at that time until we could find our forever home. My daughter actually found her first forever home across the street from the fire department and the police department right here on the corner. The Stewarts were the original owners of the home, and they sold it to them. And it was quite exciting for 2 little zookeepers to have a little home in Rome. We were still living in Shell Creek when the house next door to the old school came up. And I spoke to the man about how exciting it would be that the fire chief could live next door to the fire station. Was I wrong? 122 steps from my front door to the fire station is how long it takes to get to the fire department. You actually had 2 other firefighters that were also involved with the fire department, but they no longer make calls. That's my 2 boys who actually got on first before even Daryl got on. This has been a long 6 years of being with the fire department, different from North Richland Hills. Daryl was a firefighter for 24 years, career firefighter. He trained in multiple aspects, you name it, he did it. Was great at what he did. And in 2017, I asked him to retire, not to become the fire chief, but to become higher up in our company that we own. That didn't happen the way we wanted, not badly, but not how we wanted. Rome needs a lot of help with the fire department, and so Daryl took it upon himself to help build rooms for the back here on his own time, on his own money, and did a fantastic job. The day he was supposed to move in, City Hall moved in. So he did not get to enjoy his time there at the beginning. But I guess you guys moved back in about 2 years later. About 2 years later, he got to finally get his offices. This man works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 370, 365 days a year, too many days. And I have been angry at you, City of Rome. I've been angry at him. I've been angry at a lot of things because Rome's taken a lot from us from the last 6 years. I'm just going to be honest. It's been hard, really hard. I told him to quit, told him to get fired. I didn't care what he did. But I could see his passion, that longing that he has for the city of Rome, and the respect that he has everywhere. Even if you looked up his job report, you could, because there's nothing on his reports that are bad, because that's just the way he is. At one point, I wanted to throw the towel in. 100 times I wanted to throw the towel in. I'm glad I haven't. That school will be fixed. It will. It's too beautiful not to do. We have enough. There's an architect that's already came out. She did beautiful set of architectural integrity. We have everything behind us to build that school the proper way, and it needs to get done. The old building, the small one, I was actually in there before it was even closed down. Mold, mildew, falling apart, so small that you could barely get people in. We don't need to work on that. We need to work on the school. The school would hold all the times where you could have social events for your elderly. You could have a bingo. I'm elderly too, so right. We could do court there. We could have the fire department in there, utilities in there. There's so much for that one small building could conquer so many of our problems. And why are we not doing it? There's no reason not to do it.
Money, you idiot.
And I'm going to tell you something. I actually did tell the prior mayor how much I would love for that school to be done, because I see the potential. I see it every day. Every day I walk next to that school. It has everything in it that is possible for this town to grow. And what an exciting building to have it in. Most of these people went to school there. A lot of the architect, she went to school there. She was vested in this building, not just to have a building just to be built, but a building that she could be proud of. To me, I think we're looking in all the wrong places and all the wrong reasons. What we should be doing is fixing that school up as soon as possible. Getting the police department over there is a no-brainer. It would take nothing to get them over there. And work with, it's like, all the lies that were told about the bonds, I'm sorry, but it was not going to be $1,000 a month out of your paychecks. It wasn't even $1,000 a year on most people's houses. It was less than $800 that would come out of your taxes, and that would equal to be like, I think it was like less than a coffee a day. And the lies that were told on Facebook about how the bonds were a fake, unbelievable. It blew my mind why people would not want this beautiful school that has the potential for everything not to be done with. And I just want you guys to know that we're still here and we're going to keep going. So please don't come by my work either. That's not appropriate. Thank you.
Thanks, Candice. And we are now at 10:30. We've got 30 minutes to let the council. We've got one. Anybody out there needs to say anything else? We've got one individual, Miss Mitchell. Yeah, if you could hold it close, because we need the council to respond to all this. Go ahead, Patty. Go ahead. Yeah, just.
The other thing I want to bring it up. As far as the future of Rome, what we have right now is a volunteer fire department, but they are paying out contract labor. I believe it's $100 a day for someone to sit at the fire department. And I am not begrudging, neither am I diminishing the value of having a fire department. However, a large part of the jurisdiction, I don't have the copy with me right now. I've got the whole map for Wise County as well as for Rome. A large part of our jurisdiction and many of the calls are handled outside of the city limits. However, what financing city does that goes into the fire department is all on Rome taxpayers. I have suggested, and I've had rocks thrown at me for that too, I've suggested that we go to an ESD. Yes, it is an additional tax. It's 3 cents on the 100. It has to go to the voters. Any increase on that 3 cents on the 100 also goes to the voters. But I figured it out. This last budget, $316,000 was allocated over to the fire department. When much of the jurisdiction is not within the city limits. City taxpayers are the only ones putting into it. We go to an ESD, everybody pays a fair square. Like I said, 3 cents to the 100, which is not objectionable for most people. It would come out better for Rome City taxpayers. It's a grassroots type of thing to go through an ESD. You get the petition going. You've got to have the survey that has your meets and bounds of your area, and that in turn goes to county commissioners, and they vote on it. Well, they vote to submit it to the voters. Right now, Wise County ESDs are fairly new to Wise County. They're all over the state in many of these semi-rural areas. They're not really city, but they're not totally rural. They are rural, to be honest with you. Just like Rolling V was rural before Rolling V came along. I guess they're reunion now. But I think it is something that we need to be looking into. As I say, it's fairly new to Wise County. There's 300 all over the state though. Right now Wise County has the most recent was the what's the name of the town? Balsoro and Boonesville over there, and the voters passed that one. Boyd has an ESD located in Boyd as well. I don't have all the details on it. Basically, what I've got is going through that. They've got a website, and from what I've gathered from my discussions with Judge Clark, he may not be a real judge, but as far as we're concerned, we respect him anyway. You know what? I have made calls to you before, and I never get them returned. It's been a while. It's been a while because I kind of give up. But yeah, if you want to talk about, talk about an ESD.
Okay, let's move on.
I'm good.
And Patty, make a note to visit with Daryl.
I will.
See,
I will. Okay, I just think it's worth looking into instead of just dismissing it offhand.
Right.
All right.
So,
I think I'm done.
good. We appreciate everybody's comments, and the opinion that I had is that all of you need to get something off your chest. I have been accused of not stopping people. That was not the object. We want to hear what everybody has to say. Now we're down to right at 30 minutes. And I think we're going to turn this over to the council. We'll start with Josh if he has anything he'd like to say, and we'll go down through Sam. So Josh. Well, she'll wait her turn, so.
Sure. Mayor, when you first brought this up, we discussed this as a facility forum because the bond failed, obviously. We needed to figure out what we're going to do with our facilities, where we're going to house people. And I went back recently before this meeting and I watched that video. And again, it was only on the facilities. It wasn't until the recent meeting that you brought up the future of Rome, and you wanted to change it, which is great because we do need to talk about the future, do need to figure out what's going on. However, today, except for a couple of people, Mr. Robeson and Mr. Lofdell. I'm sorry, yes, Loftus, I got it wrote down. Y'all brought up great ideas, tax incremental financing, the savings that Mr. Robinson was talking about. Thank y'all for bringing up ideas and solutions. That's what we're looking for today. Ms. DeGarmo, I apologize that you were turned off by everything that you heard today, and you're not the only one out there. There are a lot of people that are turned away from being part of the city because of the negativity that they're hearing, and I've talked to those people, and that's why they don't want to be involved as well. They're tired of it, and I completely agree with it. But today, I think overall, today was a complete loss. We heard nothing but a lot of negativity. There was not many viable solutions. Instead of listening to ideas, listening to facilities, futures, people were being attacked left and right. Mostly Miss Northrup, a lot of our city staff were being attacked. A lot of council was being attacked. In fact, the only two people that were not called out by names or attacked, Mayor, were yourself and Miss Majors. And I am.
No, Josh, that's not correct.
You asked me for my thoughts, so
Well,
here they
I
are.
know, but
Without. So why am I being questioned now?
You're
When
not
all
being
these people
questioned.
brought
I
up
was
their
also-
thoughts and opinions, and you let them talk.
I am, and I'm letting you talk. I'm correcting. I was also attacked. But go ahead.
Okay, sure.
If you missed it, I'm sorry.
I think I've said enough. I'm done. I think today was a complete loss, and I'm appalled that you did not handle this in a better situation.
Okay, Michelle.
Okay, so I wrote down some notes from y'all talking, and someone said that the Boyd, I think it was the police department, was being renovated for $100,000, or their city hall. We don't know what they're doing. We don't know anything about it, but I mean, there's no way to compare the two because we don't know what it's comparing apples to oranges. The water bill, the wastewater, everything's been neglected for years. And I brought my wrong glasses, so if I have to look over my glasses to see y'all and then look in my glasses to see the page. But the wastewater's been ignored. The infrastructure's been ignored for years and years and years. We're trying to get it where the debt, where we're not being fined, the city's not being fined, and we can fix it where it's good for everybody. And I'm sorry that we had to raise those rates, but it is because of years of neglect. Years. We have clay pipes still for our wastewater. I don't know how old clay pipes are, but we have clay pipes. Let me see what else. The senior center. Everybody wants to keep the senior center, but they don't want to keep the old school, and I don't understand because I think the old school is beautiful too. I would love to keep it, and I know that y'all don't want to, so I don't know what to do. We still need money for this old city hall if we're going to renovate old city hall, and someone said a certificate of obligation. Well, that also raises taxes, but y'all don't get to vote on that. We just raise taxes. That's just, we do it. I don't know what the answers are to some of them because I don't know where we're going to get the money. If we do a CO, I'm sure we're going to have one of these again, and everybody's going to be mad because their taxes are going up.
Mayor,
I'm sorry.
we didn't go back and ask the people online if they would like to speak.
Oh, we sure did.
So if you'll go back and ask if there's anyone online if they would like to speak. So.
Do you not hear anybody? Okay, Ms. Priest.
Can you hear me? Okay. By nature, I take a lot of notes.
Can you hear me?
Sorry, there is someone that would like to speak. We didn't ask them.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yes, my name is Lisa Ann Wilson. Yes, I am the mayor's daughter. And like Donna, the new lady in Crown Point and my neighbor at the Methodist Church, yes, this is frustrating. We've lived here 56 years. My mother, yes, the mayor, even longer. We never had such hatred until the last 8 or 9 years when it all went south. But my point is, yes, Joe Hernandez, there is solid answers. Go back and ask those people in the audience, Shirley Mize, Deborah Beecraft, that did have solid solutions. And yes, Candice Fitch, money is needed for all this to happen. Just put our heads together, make peace, and go on. And I'll keep my mouth shut and let Elaine and the rest of the council speak their piece. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, Elaine, you are up.
Okay. There were lots of people who said similar things, but I really do want to commend those of you that did come up with some ideas. The gentleman that spoke about the trees and his analogy was very easy to see and grasp. And but he mentioned about private ownership, and cities are doing that. I've had the opportunity through some of my training to do with economic development of late, that the city of Fate, Texas, which is down on I-30 south of Dallas, they too have embraced their small town, and I've been there and looked it over because they had so many ideas that were kind of new and refreshing, and one of those was privately owned property, so that it does generate that tax revenue, and but yet the city is a partner in that endeavor and development. It's a little bit complicated, and I've thought many times that the two gentlemen that are the city administrator and the assistant city administrator who spoke at that event, which was a statewide economic development for the state of Texas and municipalities, and they spoke at that. They did a presentation, and so that is a group that I've looked to and looked at their facility. So thank you for bringing that option up. That is a very interesting thing to investigate. I would like to tell you, those people that talked about the renovations of the school, there were, when we talk about the master plan, there were many surveys that took place during that master planning that went on, and a lot of those responded they wanted to save the school. So that is direction that was given to the city council that they expected us to take. And the person that talked about the fact that it was an emotional, that the school is an emotional topic, especially in this part of the city. It is true. I think that a lot of people worked there. Their kids went there. They went there. There's an emotional attachment. And I think that had a lot to do with the responses that we got from those surveys. We tried twice to do what the citizens told us they wanted us to do. And both times the bond didn't pass. And so we came back after the last defeat and said, as much as we want to satisfy those that took the survey, it's not possible. We have to let go. We have to emotionally let go. Is it what I think anybody wants? It's just what happened. And the taxpayers and the citizens spoke. And so the city council is now in this situation where they want to hear again from the citizens. And we had people that spoke directly about that. There are detailed architectural plans that were made and put together, offered to the community. It's not secret information. And by Texas law, municipalities, in order to spend money on anything that has to do with the infrastructure,
says that we have to have that itemized list of the plan that we want to pursue. The second step is that a certified person, an architect, an engineer, certain construction people that are certified, they have to put that list together and they give us an estimate. We cannot, as a city, have competitive bids until the estimated number that financing, or whatever plan it is, that money has to be in hand before we can turn loose and get a competitive bid. That isn't the way the city necessarily wants to operate. We're required to do that. In part, it's my understanding the state legislature took that action because so many municipalities were taking kickbacks and stuff like that. I'm not saying that's what happened here. I'm just saying that's Texas law that requires us to do it that way. And we did what we were required to do. Some of the money that people were talking about that we spent in order to get to the bond situation, yes, there was money that was spent in order to meet those requirements of state law. The other thing about the bond was the revitalization of the city of Rome depended a lot on how we were going to look at that. And so when we discuss the revitalization of Rome, not only is it about ordinances to clean up and get things looking good, what we were faced with was a buffer between the economic development stuff, and let's just say quick trip, where they're going to be, and then the private sector, the residential sector. And so by possibly renovating this, it gave a physical buffer to the older part of Rome that was residential. If we don't do anything with the buildings other than sell them, then we're going to lose that buffer. And so I just want folks to know that we did all of the things that we were supposed to do. I want to talk next about the financial aspect of all of that. One of the things that we did early on and was to look at what other alternative money besides taxpayers' money could we possibly utilize. Rural development is a federally funded entity that many municipalities use. We see it at Bridgeport. We see it in small communities around us, and they do have a community facility grant program. So when we started looking at all of our possibilities, we visited with the Wise County group that oversees rural development for this county. And so what they told me and told us was that according to the 2010 census, the income for Rome citizens exceeded 90% of the income of the state of Texas in comparison, which disqualified us from being able to use this tool. Now I've been impatiently waiting on the 2020 census to come out. And so I looked up that information today to see how our percentile looked. And it did lower. That was good news. However, it's exactly at 90%. And so until I can talk to Wise County folks about that, is the 90% going to allow us to qualify to use this tool, or is it going to prohibit us from doing that? But what we've done in the past, we did not have access to that. So one of the things that we learned
was that when you look at facilities and municipalities, uh, other grants are far and few in between for facilities. It's easier to get that for public service, which is could be fire, rescue, police. It's easier to get that to do with roads and public works, with water, wastewater. But facilities, evidently in the state of Texas, they assume that communities will take care of their facilities. And so there wasn't many options. Another thing that we looked at then was this the Texas Community Development Block Grant Program, and that has to do a lot with the revitalization plan. And so we were hoping that if the bond passed, then we could use that bond as leverage to get money from these guys to help us with the other revitalization efforts in town. Now that's more information than you wanted to hear, but my point here is that we've spent a lot of time and energy researching, looking at all these different possibilities. How can we make one thing work for us that will benefit us on the other side? And it's complicated, and every time that we would get a step forward, then we would say, well, they say, well, you're making too much money. Your citizens make too much money, and so you're not going to be able to qualify for this grant.
Elaine, I'm gonna, very good information.
Well,
I'm
I've got a
have
couple
to
of
let-
other things I want to say.
Well, we need Sandy
I
and
appreciate
Ashley,
that.
and
I
we
appreciate
only
that.
have 10 minutes left.
Well, I'm going to take 5 of it. Then one of the things that I wanted to also point out here is that Cynthia has not been empowered to take over anything that's not done by the city council. And that includes the mayor's participation, that includes Ashley's participation, that includes all of us. None of us individually can do anything. And we do not have the power to empower someone to do something that is illegal. And I'm going to use an example right here, right now at this moment. There are things that have been posted that are not only incomplete, inaccurate, and are defamation of character, but not only do maybe they don't mention a name, but some of that has defamed our mayor by saying things like laws were broken and money was stolen, and names were called with that. But I can tell you that it's part of our mayor's responsibility to make sure that laws aren't broken. And she knew all along that we were not breaking the law. And so when anybody posts something that said the law was broken, you are saying then that the city of Rome, its staff, and its mayor did not live up to their responsibilities of the oath of office, which is totally not true. The mayor did exactly what she was supposed to do. She knew that it was legal, and no laws were broken. That is not fair to our mayor. That is not fair to the city council members that had done their due diligence. Only the city council can empower anybody. The mayor's inherent rights of service that she is elected to have not been removed in any fashion. Not one. You cannot find it in the minutes. You cannot find it on a recording because it's never happened.
So what
be
about respect for the
careful
council?
because you're defaming our mayor, and she doesn't deserve that. And I'm appalled the people that call themselves friends of hers do not respect her by thinking through what you are writing. And I'm really sad about that. So I'm just going to say one last thing, and that is that the senior building, there's not anything more than I would like to do, but that building is not safe. It's been inspected. by people who are certified. And we've got to come up with an alternative plan. I'm hoping that we can get land donated. I'm hoping that we can do one of Ashley's thoughts that she can, that we can come up with, maybe selling some of this property to help finance that. There's a lot of things to do. But for those of you that came with a positive attitude, I appreciate you very much. Those of you that came to destroy and continue to complain, you need to come and talk to us directly, which you never do. You don't come in and talk to me, never. I've not had one of you. One time, what do you know? What can you share? Help me understand. My door is open. You've got my phone number.
Okay, Sam, we're cutting
Hold
you
on
short.
just a second. This is going to go after 11 o'clock because I have a lot to say. If someone doesn't want to stay after 11, you're more than welcome to leave.
Can we
So,
continue recording?
right, yes. Can we continue recording after 11? Yeah, we're going to continue after 11.
Can we keep, are we limited on?
Yeah, so.
If you don't
Recording
have,
until we turn it off.
okay, so we're okay in that. Anybody
Okay.
who wants to stay is more than welcome. We need to hear what Sam has
Yeah.
to say.
Actually, if you want to go ahead, you're welcome to. I can go last.
No, you can go. You can go, Sam.
First of all, thank you, Elaine. I agreed with most everything you said. I am going to disagree with Josh. I think that, Josh, today was a good day because I believe clearly people had to get things off their chest. Okay? Sometimes a bitch session is necessary. Sometimes people just, they need to say it. Okay? Now, I'm going to suggest that we do this again. And we ask people, leave the bitch session outside. Because when I'm sitting here listening, I went to a screen watch, excuse me. I'm sitting here taking notes, and everybody that, okay, I know I can type my password in. Everybody that spoke, I heard 5 people say they wanted to renovate the old city hall. I heard 1 wanted to renovate the senior building, 1 wanted to renovate the police department, 1 wanted to renovate the fire department. 1, by the way, thank you very much, wanted to have a multi-use facility, and we're talking about a new fire department, right? Very constructive, thank you. Lots of bitching, okay? I hope we've gotten it out of our system because there wasn't a time limit. The mayor let everybody go, and I'm going to applaud that. It's like, okay, is it out of your system? Now, it's been referenced, I first won this seat back in May of 16, and one of the things that platforms I ran on was we got to do something. Because I went back and looked at the history of this town. Prior to 1972, this was actually a happening town. Okay, we had a lot of businesses on Main Street. Sales taxes were really going. The place was growing. But the thing is, what happened in 72? 287 got routed around. All of a sudden, there's no more traffic on Main Street. Okay, because that's what was bringing business. That's what was bringing life. That's what was bringing everything to this city. Was 287 coming right through the middle of town. You sit there and you see 114 going through Boyd. Boyd's got a lot of businesses right there on 114. If TxDOT ends up routing around Boyd, that'll kill Boyd. Okay? But yet you look at what's happened to this city since 72, not a whole lot. We've had businesses leave. We've got vacant buildings. We've got dilapidated buildings, right? I remember looking at the history of the old school. In 1929, we had a school made of wood sitting on the same site. And it burned down. And the city council at that time, people who lived here, said that we can't let that happen again because education's too important. So they decided to build a building out of steel and stone, concrete. When we started looking at that building, we looked at, okay, first of all, is it structurally sound? Okay, does it have a roof so that it, and we ended up having to repair the roof. Yes, that costs money. We ended up removing the asbestos. That costs money. We got rid of the mold. That costs money. But the thing is, structurally, that building is sound. When we looked at what are we going to do with offices for city administration, with the fire department, with the police department, right? We're sitting here looking at what our options are. And we looked at the assets of the city. Because we were discussing bulldozing that building. Oh my gosh, when we first started talking about destroying that building, lots of people got upset. No, can't lose the building, can't lose the building. But yet, that building had been left to decay since they closed it down because of the asbestos issue. But you can't lose it, but we don't want to do anything with it. So we're sitting here looking at, well, we've got problems with City Hall, we've got problems with police, fire. What are our options? We look at our assets. We had estimates done. Yes, estimates cost money. But the thing is, it costs more money to tear that building down and build something from scratch. Okay? It was cheaper. Okay? We actually went with the cheaper option. Okay? We look at renovating the other buildings, right? I go and I look at, I was just looking online at renovation costs per square foot, right? What was the estimate, Sean? 250, 215 per square foot?
275.
275.
And those were numbers that the architect applied to.
Right. I was actually looking online, and the current estimates per square foot for renovation in the South, in Texas, is $477 a square foot. Okay, that's what I just found online. Okay, for current renovation for public buildings, right? And I'm not talking about office buildings. I'm not talking about schools, but the category was for civic buildings, government buildings. Okay? It's going to cost money. Now, let's do this again, right? Let's have another one of these meetings. But I ask you, can we leave the bitching at the door, leave it at home? Come in, I mean, you voted down the bond twice. Okay, I get it. You don't want to use the old school, right? I get that. But let's hear some options, okay? Because you talk about doing the renovation. Somebody was talking about the estimates that our engineer made on what it costs to do those renovations. Well, the thing is, we ended up getting rid of that company because time and time and time again, he would come to us with an estimate. And the first time the estimate would be $20, the next time it'd be $30, the next time it'd be $50, the time after that it's $75, and it's like, wait a second. What good is your estimate if you're going to be constantly changing it? Okay? And the last estimate that he gave us on renovating the old city hall was $440,000. And the reason for that was when the hurricane hit in Houston, everybody remembers that, everything skyrocketed. You couldn't even find construction guys because they were shipping them all down to the coast. We need to find a place for everybody in City Hall to work, the administration. Okay? I don't want them to rent. Okay? That wasn't a great idea. I mean, that wasn't a long-term solution. It was never meant to be. Okay? Our police department. Oh my gosh. Policemen are here to keep us from dying. Okay? The city is a company. We have employees. Our employees deserve a place to work that's safe. okay, that doesn't leak. As I've heard Elaine point out many times in the past, the only buildings this city owns that are dried in aren't occupied. Okay? We put a new roof on the old city hall. It's not occupied, but it's dried in. Doesn't leak when it rains. We could put a new roof on the old school. It's dried in. Doesn't leak. This building leaks. Fire department, it leaks. Police department, leaks. Okay? We want to fix these things. We want to give these people a safe place to work. We took our best guess. We did the best option for what we thought the citizens wanted. Citizens didn't want to lose. They didn't want to bulldoze the old school, right? They said, save the old school. Well, you know, if you're going to save the old school, you got to dry it in, got to get rid of the asbestos, and let's use it. Let's not save it by leaving it boarded up. Okay? I want to save it, but I don't want to spend any money. Well, you know what? The city's a business. It costs money. Things cost money. The idea of earmarking funds, you know, you can call it earmarking funds for a particular project, but essentially that's what the budget that we fill out every year does. We say we're going to spend so many dollars on roads. We're going to spend so many dollars on radios. We're going to spend so many dollars for fire equipment. Okay? That is what we're doing. We're taking the tax dollars. We're taking, you know, the property tax dollars. We're taking the sales tax dollars. And I think we still have some kind of gas revenue for some property that we own. But that's what the budget is, people. It is earmarking funds for those projects. Okay? That is what's happening. Do we follow the budget? We try. But the thing is, we do amendments to it all the time. I mean, it seems like at least quarterly we have to do an amendment to the budget because it's like, okay, things change. Needs change. Something comes up here, something comes up there. We've got to reallocate. Okay? Because you live day to day. You don't know 12 months in the future every dime that you're going to spend. You take a best guess. I want to thank everyone for coming. I appreciate all of your inputs. Okay? I'm sorry that I'm so long-winded, but Mayor, can we have this meeting again?
Sure.
And ask people, leave your bitching at the door, come constructive, come with solutions, not problems.
How soon do you think we should schedule another one, Sam? And we'll have to work through it, but what's your gut feeling?
I'm open this afternoon.
Well, hey, we're almost there, you know, so but you know, we are not serving lunch, so we will set another meeting in the future. And now we have Councilman Ashley Majors, you know, so let's see what she has to say.
Okay. I don't know if you're ready for me. All right, Sam and Elaine, I do have to agree with you. And Michelle, somewhat. Josh, I definitely do not agree with you. Okay, a few things here. Let me just turn to my notes. Josh, as Sam said, everybody has to get something off of their chest. And everyone had something to say. There are a few I definitely agree with. Everybody came here and they spoke. We couldn't control what they said, if it was good and if it was bad. So what they spoke on, it was supposed to be facilities. It was supposed to be and the future. The mayor could not control what they said. And that was not, she could not stop what they had to say. So that being said, I will go forward.
What Ashley's saying, I can't stop her.
Correct. You
You
can't stop me. All right. First thing that I have to say is we, you know, Elaine, I do my research, and we have not looked at our condition report, our comprehensive, which is our comprehensive report, which is here, Jerry, what you've said, we've paid for that, and we should be going over and looking to what our downtown, district, and kind of seeing what we should be doing. As some of you know, I am like the one who, sorry, the one who is really full force want to get rid of the substandard buildings and now the substandard signs, and clean up our town. I call it the Welcome to Rome building. That is the red cage building is on my agenda. That is been here for too many years, which Cynthia has been working on. She gets, she's a little upset with me because I ask her all the time, but it is on her agenda to get it fixed. It's been a long working agenda for her. Just to let everybody know that is being taken care of. Moving forward, some of the things that are in this comprehensive plan, another thing is which I've heard in the Bywell residents, is our master thoroughfare. So I will speak on their behalf. I know we can't do anything, but maybe we can help them working on getting a light, doing something, but maybe we can see if we can reach out, do something for them. I don't know if we can, but maybe since they are our citizens, we can see if there's anything we can do. Okay, so my little notes, as well as Elaine says, I just made notes here that I have done for Rome. We need to ensure a positive image and to make sure that going forward we have keep our signage, which the dilapidated, which like I said, for the roadway, I want to see the ones that are cleaned up. Maybe we could do a grant for our businesses. And we also need to see for the comprehensive plan what Decatur is offering, what theirs was, as well as Haslett and Justin, and see if they're following through, since we have not been. And for my future businesses, why not now? Why are we not? Why in the past few years, why have we not been bringing in businesses into our community? That one's not. What is our existing conditions? We need to remove the power lines that are hanging around our community that I see, like in the Old Town, we have hanging power lines. That is the visual clutter. So around Old Town, there is, we must, and then also, which I already said, the focus on the substandard buildings. And we also need to have the street. We need to maintain our streets, which was in the bond, but now we need to go back and look at the streets. There are some, one of them is on Morris. It was taken away on the bond, but on TxDOT was supposed to be looked at down before the service road that needs to be, we need to see what we can do. And also, I don't know, this is something I'm going to put on the agenda. I'll wait and see. But we also need to look into why we don't have festivals. We need to have engagement within our community. Okay, thank you. Let me see. I'm all in favor for 105 First Street. So and another thing is, I don't know if we can speak on it, but which is the old City Hall. Sorry. Another thing is I requested for selling some of the land around Rome and having, Cynthia, can I speak on it? On having the appraisal, or would you like to speak on it?
Well, I mean, the agenda is pretty wide open, so you can speak about anything to do with the future of Rome.
Okay, so I asked for for this property here to be appraised, to see if we could sell this in the future, just to see what, to maybe possibly, to answer your question, to see possibly if we did get rid of this building, because Quick Trip coming in, this is prime real estate if we decide to sell it in the near future. We need to recognize the importance of the older homes by implementing policies of productive code enforcement that would long-term benefit of the city. So that's something else. And then I would just want to say, Jerry, I am putting back the signs ordinance back on the agenda to try to help you for the churches signs. So that is something that is coming back. I'm, trying to do all I can. And I do have citizens that have reached out to me, and I will do everything possible that I can for the residents. So as Elaine said, our numbers are on the city website. So please let us know and what we can do for you. And we can try, to help you and to see what we can do. We're not here to have personal agendas. We're here for the citizens. And again, this was, as Sam said, this was for you to get things off your chest. And it was a personal attack. On some of this was an attack on us. We didn't sit here and, we listened to you to personally attack. I was attacked. There's stuff that I didn't do to you. And I'm not even going to say, but I was personally attacked. And yes, I was, people did say nice things about me, but they were also attacks. But yeah, you attacked, hey, hey, you attacked us all, but hey, I do not mind it one bit. I was elected for that reason, but we're also here to help you and better the city and to help clean it up and to help it, whatever we can do to help you. It's your home. So we want to, what can we do for you? So that's pretty much it. I just took notes, and so thank you for coming. And
To
let's
wrap
see.
all this up, it's not all gloom and doom. We have what I think it's probably contributing to a lot of our sales tax. We have out on 114, that is attracting more businesses. We have Clausen Industries out there who repair and sell heavy equipment. Well, we might get a little tax off it, heavy equipment. That stuff doesn't come cheap. Quick Trip is coming probably, 3 years, Cynthia? Is that a good guess? Okay, hey, she's positive. She said 2 years. We did not find them. They found us. But hey, had to work hard, and Cynthia did that with a developer's agreement and annexation from our ETJ. And lastly, we have applied for, and Elaine and I have discussed this, $350,000 CBDG, or whatever the initials are, grant. And it looks like we're going to get it. We hadn't got the checks kind of in the mail, but we haven't got it in our hand yet. That will allow us to renovate and upgrade some of the problems with behind the old city hall with the well that's back there and lines and stuff. So we've not been completely inactive. Stuff is just not showing up. And we are also working with pretty aggressively with one more developer. Can't go into detail till they show up. But we are moving forward. Maybe not, and I'm with Sam. Let's have another meeting, but let's have it things you'd like to see and a map on the way to get there. So I appreciate everybody coming. Oh, wait, Elaine has a comment.
I just wanted to say that we do have a new business that's come in. For those of you that don't know, the real estate office is on Main Street. That has sold, and they also bought the part of the building that has the donut shop. They bought the entirety of that. And the family's last name is McCaleb, is their last name. And they plan to bring in in the next few weeks, as many as 6 agents into that facility. And they also have told us that they want to participate in our economic development uh, that we're working on to try to get off the ground. So that, to me, that's a big plus for Main Street.
Right, and we are, Cynthia fields calls all but daily on people that are maybe wanting to build or come into our ETJ. And I think, as you all know, we are welcome to work with anybody for annexation, but there's a lot of paperwork that goes through before it just happens. But before we go, anybody else with a comment? Sure.
You said, of course, that there have been 2 bonds voted down. Is it possible to have a bond again, number one? Because now, I live here in Crown Point, and like I said, I don't know too much about anything about this, but all I really saw was vote no on bond, vote no on bond. And from what I hear, for I'd be knocking out the list vote for. Just because
Can you hear me?
people had this wrong idea, myself included, that it was going to raise our taxes immensely. And I really think like things have to get so I think that, that's rather than more positive.
Can you hear me?
There again, I'm retired, I volunteer. I love getting involved.
And we appreciate that. And Sam,
Can you
should
hear
we
me?
have another meeting, we could go into more detail on bonds. Normally, you have to wait 3 years to be, and you have to, for the same bond, for the same thing. But sometimes there are ways around it. So should we schedule another meeting, Sam? Could we address the cost of, well, there's a cost to requesting a bond. I believe we pay $2,000 to the Wise County to put it on there. We also have to pay individuals, a bond counsel and a finance person, their part of it. So it's not like we want to do it. Do we have X dollars? But if y'all guys agree, we can put that on our next meeting to go into more detail. Anybody else? Yes, he beat you. Yes.
Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Hello, can you hear me?
And that's the kind of feedback we need.
Well, let me just dispel that. It was not a 40-year bond, so it had not yet been determined, but what the city was looking at was a 20 or 30-year bond, but it was not a 40-year bond. Oh, and that's yeah. And we look to our finance people to tell us what makes sense, and then they tell the council, and the council makes their decision. Yeah, absolutely. But I just wanted to spell it was not a 40-year bond. And the other thing I just do want to say, a CO, a certificate of obligation, is going into debt without going to the voters to authorize that debt. So the city just does that internally. A general obligation bond, which is what the city has done twice now with the Municipal Complex Center, is going out to the voters. If you asked how often you could have one, when you go out to the voters, you can go out for the same thing if it's a general obligation and the voters vote on it. What you can't do, you have to wait 3 years if you try to do a certificate of obligation. You do a general obligation and it fails. You go to the voters, you say, voters, can we do this? And the voters say no. Then you cannot, for 3 years, do a certificate of obligation on that same issuance, because that is bypassing the voters. So that is what the situation is with the bonds.
Okay. And
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Anybody else before we go have lunch?
Can you hear me?
We can take a
Can you
potty
hear
break
me?
or have lunch, whatever. So we're going to adjourn if no one has an objection. And
Can you
appreciate
hear me
all of
now?
you.
Can you hear me now?